This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is
the one that everybody wants, me.
It's going to WrestleMania. Claymore!
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. This is my iron. You're going to acknowledge me.
Welcome, everybody, to the Monday Night Raw review. With Money in the Bank just a week and a half away, we had a pretty eventful Monday Night Raw. Overall, Raw that I enjoyed for the most part. I'm not sure how you guys felt, but let me know in the mailbag this coming Friday. You can email us, mailbag@wwepodcast.com. But to start, I did really enjoy the show for the most part. And I thought there was a lot of progression, a lot of movement towards the Money in the Bank event. Kind of nice when there's a quick turnaround because there's not a lot of time for fluff, not a lot of time for filler, especially when it comes to the typical 3-hour have to fill it void. And a lot of times, especially when you have 4 weeks or more between PLEs, and then you have a 3-hour show, it becomes a lot of filler. That's not the case here with the 2-week turnaround, and Raw doesn't have to be 3 hours every week now that it's not on cable television. So we saw Seth Rollins proclaim his mission statement for his unnamed group, along with Paul Heyman. We saw Sami Zayn step up, even though he didn't win the match. We saw CM Punk return at the very end of the show to a big pop. We saw Liv catch Dom in what is a cycle of Dom relationships at this point. We saw Sheamus confront Rusev. That was a fun moment that I didn't expect to enjoy as much as I did. We'll talk about that. But first, I want to welcome you to the show. You guys can check us out ad-free at patreon.com/WWE Podcast if you want to get everything ad-free along with some other great perks, exclusive shows, and so on. But I want to welcome a couple of new members, Mr. Shrek and LQC. Both of you, welcome to the WWE Podcast, and I hope you enjoy your trial and maybe join us on the other side if you like it. Also, if you haven't already listened, check out the main event show done by Daniel. It's done every single week, and really recommend you check it out this week. He covered the main event show that is not exactly viewed by most people, but it's fun to listen to because even if you don't watch the main event show, you often get extras. Like this week, we heard his opinion on the Saturday night main event results, but also you get to hear what's going on the show no one's really watching, which sounds kind of counterintuitive, but also it allows you to see what WWE is doing behind the scenes almost, because it's often times that they'll put things on the main event show that they'll then bring up to the main roster. They'll test things out in front of a live, quote unquote, televised audience, and then bring it to the main show that most people watch. So take a listen to that if you haven't already. We put it up on a weekly basis. So let's start with Monday Night Raw. And it opened with a main event, Saturday night main event recap video. And then Rollins comes out with Breakker, Reed, and Paul Heyman. And Heyman introduced himself, introduced Breakker as an attack dog and a member of the bloodline of badasses. Heyman played up Breakker as a main eventer of WrestleMania 45 through WrestleMania 50 and beyond. That's interesting. I will say, WrestleMania 45, does he really believe that it's going to be 4 years before we have Braun Breaker in a main event of WrestleMania? Really? I don't know. I mean, does he think it's going to take 4 years to develop Braun Breaker to a point where we believe he could be a main eventer? He may be overshooting a bit. I get his point, but just being a nitpicker, I just thought about, what do you mean WrestleMania 45? The point is he's looking to the future, and that was the main overarching theme here. Also kind of crazy hearing someone on air mention WrestleMania 50 for the first time. Now, WrestleMania 50, as we all know, is about 9 years off, but that's going to go quick. Imagine WrestleMania 50. How about this, guys? This sounds insane, but 9 years from now, WrestleMania 50 will have just been completed a month ago. So for all intents and purposes, it's 9 years away. And Who do you think will still be around for WrestleMania 50 to have a match from today's product? I'm not talking about legends, right? I mean, at that point, some of the legends may no longer be with us, but at WrestleMania 50, I'm not asking for a card. I'm not asking for who do you think could face who. I'm talking about who do you think is in active competition, that's currently in active competition right now at WrestleMania 50? It's a good question. I certainly do believe Paul Heyman that Braun Breaker could absolutely still be there at WrestleMania 50 in 9 years. So point taken, Mr. Heyman. Point taken. Very, very well done. And we had Heyman talk about that's not a prediction, that's a spoiler, and a Punk chant broke out. And Heyman asked Rollins if he thinks the fans realized that Punk wasn't in the building. He said that's because of Reed, and Heyman recalled Reed putting a beating on Rollins that was worse than Roman Reigns ever did and Punk ever could. And Heyman spoke about Rollins making a sacrifice for the future of the industry. That's really the central theme here. If you were going to sum up their entire 15-minute promo here, it would be sacrificing for the future of the industry. Power, dominance, a couple other nouns in there, or adjectives, I should say. Heyman praised Rollins and then told fans to acknowledge him. So a lot of play on what he used to do for Roman here. Fans booed, then they chanted for Roman. We want Roman chants. From what I understand, Roman Reigns is not going to be back for a while. Same with Drew McIntyre, by the way. Bit of a side track. Drew is taking time off to heal up from some nagging injuries. Apparently, he couldn't even turn his neck a certain way at the Saturday Night Main Event. So, yeah, I do wish Drew the best, and hopefully he gets back soon. But that is going to be likely a bit of a long absence for Drew, even maybe past SummerSlam, depending on the extent of his, what he needs done to fix whatever he's got wrong with him. I know that's a bit of a broad diagnosis as to what's wrong with Drew, but all outside of the neck injury, I don't know what else is going on with Drew. So hopefully he's back soon. But Roman is just on his regular schedule, and the fans chanting for him is futile because I would say it's possible it's at Money in the Bank, but more likely it's probably at SummerSlam or even beyond SummerSlam. I mean, Roman Reigns at SummerSlam is likely, but we all know Roman's schedule. We don't expect anything anymore. We've just kind of been beaten over the head with we don't expect Roman very much. And it's not so bad when he doesn't have the title. In fact, it does what it's designed to do when he doesn't have the title. Because what it's designed to do is, number one, give Roman a longer career, allow time with his family, recharge, not tax his mind and body because of how big of an asset he is to the company, what he means to the company. So they're elongating his career by allowing him a lot more time off than they ever used to. For big stars especially. Big stars actually would be the ones being burned into the ground with 300 days a year and wrestling house shows and 1 day off a week at most. And even the day off is that you're doing, press conferences or radio interviews or whatever it was back in the day. Today's a lot more generous with the time off. So that's a good thing for Roman, but it's also designed to, as a byproduct, allow fans to miss him. And that's what happens when Roman does these long gaps between appearances and programs, is allow fans to miss him and want him back. And when you don't have a championship that you're holding hostage, it's amazing that it can actually work as designed. So, he pointed to his crew and called it the vision, his vision, and the way forward. I thought at first he was going to call his group the Vision. I don't think so. I mean, I know a lot of people are saying he should call it the Revolution, the Evolution. I mean, not the Evolution, but obviously. But the Revolution may not be bad. We'll see what he eventually ends up calling it, or what WWE decides to call it. He then spoke about total domination through complete power. So, hey, doesn't get more straightforward than that. We're just going to take what we want because we can, and we don't have anyone that can stop us. That's pretty true with that group there. A "You Sold Out" chant started, And I was thinking to myself, as that was being chanted, I was thinking to myself, I even said out loud, who is he selling out to exactly? And right on cue, and I'm not saying this because I watched it after the fact. I'm not Monday morning quarterbacking or Tuesday morning quarterbacking here. I really was saying it at the time. He said, I sold out to whom? Myself? Are you out of your mind? And I was thinking, thank you. What are you talking? Who did he sell out to? I mean, you sold out should be chanted at John Cena. John Cena sold out to The Rock, but we're supposed to forget about the whole Rock part, remember? That chant makes sense directed at John Cena, not directed at Rollins, because Rollins just bet on himself. So it's exactly right. I'm so glad Rollins took a little bit of a detour to address the really nonsense chant. Now, from the fans' perspective, you sold out just means you turned heel, but there are different circumstances under which people turn heel. I mean, in this case, Rollins just went into business for himself and surrounded himself with some heavy hitters that can do his bidding and buy into his vision. But it's still centered around Seth Rollins. So again, yeah, it's exactly what he did. He sold out to himself. So it was great. Thank you, Seth, for saying that. And he said told the fans what he would do at WrestleMania, and he did it. And then there was a censored F you Rollins chant. By the way, apparently there's this quote going around of WWE, and I don't know who it is. Maybe somebody can dig it up. Apparently WWE is telling fans to not curse at televised events, which is kind of funny to me if that's indeed true, because how often do we hear on air the word BS being used, just the word S being used, B, I'm using all the letters for the words we know, the word B, right? Which rhymes with which, we know the word. We've heard everything other than F, pretty much everything other than F. And so I don't know who they're trying to, direct the moral compass at here, but it shouldn't be the fans. And also, there's no better way to ensure that you don't get something than by telling fans what to do. There's no better way to ensure that you get the exact opposite reaction, the exact opposite desired reaction, by telling the fans what you want them to do and act like. Do they understand how human beings work? When you tell them they can't do something, what are they going to do? What do people want to do instinctively? Most people. They want to do the opposite. So good luck with that. Good luck with that, if that is indeed true. So either that or they just don't want fans to cuss because, well, really, it's just two things. They don't have to worry about something slipping through the censors. And maybe those that are censoring the language are just too lazy and don't want to cut out every F word or every F chant or every whatever the fans are chanting. But also they want to make sure that they're curating to the other audience that's not watching wrestling. They're trying to curate how wrestling fans are. They want to try to manipulate the fans into changing how the general public views wrestling fans. Does that make sense? If this is true, I'm going to have to do a little bit more homework on where this all came from. And I know I'm digging into it way more than most people do, but I kind of can see from a high-level business perspective where they want to go with this, and to change how the public views wrestling fans by not having fans cussing at the events, right? Because there's a lot of stereotyping that goes with being a wrestling fan, and cussing and acting out of sorts and acting like a child at a wrestling event is how most people in the public who aren't wrestling fans view wrestling fans. So don't give in, guys. Go to the events and do what you want to do within reason, okay? I know I'm not the overlord of your actions, but what I say is you've gone there to cheer and boo whoever you want, and I believe you can cheer and boo whoever you want. But I would be just a little bit cautious of families around. Be a little bit sensitive to, if you got kids next to you, like kind of common sense that, sure, you can say and do what you want, but that doesn't mean that you should. Just because you can, right? Just because you can doesn't mean you should. If a family that's got their 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9-year-olds there, and you're right next to them, saying, F you, whoever, Rusev. I mean, you got to use your head. And, not that you can't, but again, that kind of just shows the kind of character that those people have when, they do have those kinds of people at events. It does happen. Anyway, so everybody should listen to me about how their behavior should play out at wrestling events. Okay, so if anybody's got any questions about what's okay and what's not at wrestling events, you come to me first. All actions go through me. Got it? Good. Someone's going to take me seriously on here. Someone's going to write a review on that. I guarantee you. But if you took me seriously there, you haven't been listening to the show very long. Okay, so let's continue on with Raw. He then continued to troll the fans, but the fans were really trolling themselves here because he took issue with the fans questioning his integrity. He pointed out that everyone in the building was singing his song 5 minutes ago, and then they started to chant his song again. Rollins called the fans morons and said they don't know their right from their left. And that's so true. I don't know what the hell. Do the fans understand just basic psychology here? The fans just, they told Rollins that he sold his soul, again, to who? Himself, right? So that chant made no sense, and Rollins called him on it. And then the fans started singing his song, even though they just booed him. Now they're going to chant his song. And Rollins is like, you guys are morons. That's exactly how I would have acted too. So Rollins did an A+ job here of addressing the fans on Monday night. Sorry, guys. If you attended the event, you guys got trolled. You trolled yourselves. I mean, Rollins did exactly what he should have done. And you know what? I think there's a lot of truth in what he said. I don't think he was making it up for his character. All right. So we then had Rollins say he's the only person capable of leading the company into the future and wielding that power. He said that power comes through championships, and he would be the world heavyweight champion if it weren't for Punk and Zayn. And Rollins said Punk found out on Saturday what happens when he's underestimated, just as Zayn would later in the show. Rollins said he found an object that allows him to control the fate of the championships, speaking to the Money in the Bank briefcase, and said he would win the briefcase and cash in the contract, and he would do it when he wants, to whoever he wants, and nobody can stop him. And then he talked about being a visionary, a revolutionary, and all the rest. So, number one, I love the look of the group. Just the visual, stepping back and looking at them, they all fit. It's all great. Breaker, obviously, not just Braun Breaker, but Bronson Reed, both of them looked excellent. I have no issue with having Heyman in this role too. Does seemingly fit. I know some of us are still adjusting from Paul Heyman being with Roman Reigns nearly the last 5 years, but still, I think it's been a nice change, and it could have not felt right. I think it feels right. It feels right, and it's nice to see Heyman working with another talent. So we then have Chad Gable, Dragon Lee, and Penta in a men's Money in the Bank ladder qualifying match. This one went 10 minutes exactly, with Penta beating Chad Gable and Dragon Lee in 10 minutes to qualify. The finish was Gable going up top, Vikingo climbing the apron and threw a kick at Gable, while Cole reminded viewers that there were no disqualifications in a triple threat, which again is just so stupid. I'll continue to say there is no sense in having no disqualification in a triple threat. Explain how adding one more person voids all rules, right? Or at least disqualification, because there's another person. So we're just like, well, we don't know how to manage this. Weapons are good, barbed wire. You want to light your opponent on fire, that's fine. That third person just somehow crosses this threshold into the fourth level of hell. Go ahead. It doesn't matter. You want to use thumbtacks? Fine. I mean, just think about that. Just by default, I would love to ask why a third person suddenly makes this into a death match all the time. Now, not every match, of course, ends with violence of that level. I'm simply making the point because I continue to make it until someone can answer me logically. And I don't want to hear, well, if somebody gets, say there are disqualifications and wrestler A hits wrestler B with a chair. That's not fair to wrestler C or wrestler B. Wrestler A is the one who caused the disqualification. No, fine. That person is then ejected and it's a one-on-one. That's all. The only person that gets screwed is the person that did the action. That person then leaves and it's a one-on-one. Really, really revolutionary stuff, guys. That's it. I don't know. I just don't understand it. Anyway, moving on. I get on these tangents. So, Vikingo's kick left Gable bleeding, and then Penta hit a destroyer on Lee, and then hit a Penta driver on Gable and got the 3 count. So Gable loses, and Penta dropped on his face Penta dropped on his face, and then Vikingo busted him open with a kick. Yeah, so rough night for Gable. And then AJ Styles backstage, of course, nails Chad Gable with a punch, and not a good night for Chad Gable. Not as bad as the night that the Wyatt Six debuted and essentially murdered Chad Gable live on the air. But this one's it's in the top 10 of bad nights for Gable, no doubt about it. So then we get a little bit of entertainment here with Carlito and Dom playing the WWE 2K25 video game. Roxanne Perez shows up again with some chicken nuggets as she did last week, with a tray of them this time. And then Perez said Dom's shoulder looked tight and started to massage it. Liv Morgan shows up with a massive ovation. I love the ovation that Liv got. I loved it. I really, that was well deserved. But she showed up and wasn't happy. And Dom, with his hand caught in a cookie jar, said, "You're back." And Perez tried to introduce herself, but Morgan wasn't having it. Balor had a big smile, knowing, of course, what this would do to Dom and Liv. Morgan said Rodriguez kept her up to speed on what was going on. And Morgan said she found some things to be very interesting and would address those things after she spoke with Adam Pearce about getting a Money in the Bank qualifier. So this is good. I mean, anytime you have Dom doing what he does with the ladies, it's a fun time. And Carlito's comments, of course, and it's tough to hate Dom and Carlito. It really is. We've gone through our phase of hating Dom for a couple of years now. We're over it. I think we're ready for him to just do a full turn, and I think it'll be a full complete turn once Finn turns on him, which is, I think, coming sooner than later. So is Dom doing the same thing to Liv that he did to Rhea? It appears so. History does repeat itself. Once a cheater, always a cheater. You can come up with all the, all of those kinds of, all those kinds of things. And it's probable. It's likely that Dom is doing the same thing. We'll see. We'll see if he has any. He hasn't really shown a ton of interest in Roxanne as he did Liv. But we'll see if history is going to repeat itself. Rusev and Akira Tozawa. 50 seconds. Rusev beats Tozawa in a squash with the accolade. After the match, Rusev then applied the accolade again and wouldn't release the hold. Sheamus comes out, entered the ring, removed his jacket, and went face to face with Rusev. That was, again, I said at the open of the show that it felt bigger than it had any business being, because we haven't seen these two face to face in how many years? Tons of history, as Cole pointed out. Being adversaries, being allies, they feel like they are more polished, mature versions of who they were. It just felt like they are where they're supposed to be in their careers to face one another. I don't know how else to put it. These two just, if they're going to make anything out of this, what they should do is pull back from, the video library, go through some of their matches, go through some of their good times when they were allies, bring that back. bring that back and also have Sheamus talk about why he's here. What is he doing? Why is he trying to play good guy here to save Tozawa? What's in it for him? So there's a lot to investigate here. I hope that they invest a little bit more time than I probably think they're gonna in this program with just putting together a couple of minute video package of their history. I think it would really help with this program that they presumably have started. It's always good to have a foundation when you're starting a program, because instead of starting cold, you already have a starting point that you can look back to. It's much more fun. All right, so then we had Bert Kreischer, which I just don't care. Kathy Kelly spoke with Bert Kreischer and Tom Segura, who I don't even know who that is, backstage. And Kelly noted that Segura, I don't even know if I'm saying it right, had been critical of WWE in the past, and Segura said he's done a lot of stupid things in his life. He said that they had Cody Rhodes on their podcast, and Kreischer told him how much fun he had. He then plugged his latest Netflix special and was distracted by something off camera, and he excused himself, and Segura plugged his new Netflix series, and Kreischer could be heard screaming. Segura went to investigate and found him standing with the War Raiders. And Kreischer said it was like they were brothers, and then yelled war with the duo until Segura let him know the War Raiders left. Okay. Lame. Celebrity injections into the WWE product, as you know, if you've been watching wrestling for any length of time, either work or they don't. More often than not, they don't, because they're not of this world of pro wrestling, so they don't know how to act to feel natural, so they feel like they're trying to fit in, which makes them feel more unnatural. And that's the case here. And it was sure just a shameless plug for their podcast and having Cody on there and all the rest. I actually don't find Bert Kreischer very funny as a comedian. I think he's got a couple of okay bits, but I'm not a big Bert Kreischer fan. That's just me personally. Everyone's got their own taste. I don't even know who the other guy is, gotta say. But the whole, look at how different I am because I have a beer belly and I have my shirt off for the whole time I'm doing a routine. Isn't that neat? Doesn't that make me stand out? I've got a big beer belly. Hardy har. And I'm going to do a whole comedy skit with that. I mean, I don't know. Sorry, guys. Ain't doing it for me. Again, he's not the worst comedian. Everybody's got their personal preference. I don't find him that intriguing, to be honest with you. And Bert Kreischer's been on WWE TV now way too much. Can we just, what we should do is just hire Braun Breaker. Can I hire him on the side? Does he do like side hustles for Spears? You know what I mean? Does he have like a GoFundMe for Spears where if you donate a certain amount, he'll spear that person? Can I put Bert Kreischer on the list? I mean, at the very top, of course. We all know who's at the number one spot. We all know who that is. Mr. Travis Scott. He's got the number one spot locked up, but Bert Kreischer's in my top 3, All right. If we can ever get, if Braun Breaker ever is available for hire, let me know. So, New Day comes out. We get the New Day and War Raider and Julius and Brutus Creed, the Creeds. Title match, World Tag Team titles. And we had a decent match here. I mean, it only went 8 minutes and 45 seconds, which is really quick for these 3 teams to be competing. But it ended with Ivar hitting Woods with a frog splash. Kingston and the Creeds immediately broke up the pin. Then Brutus hit Eric with a springboard Brutus bomb. And Kingston went for a suicide dive, but Ivar caught him and threw him into the LED board on the side of the ring. Ivar followed up with a cross body block against the board. And then Ivar went up top, but Brutus hit him with a running knee strike, and Woods rolled up Brutus and got the victory. So, again, way too quick of a match for these 3 teams. These 3 teams deserve 15 to 18 minutes minimum with what they can do. Not a lot of time to tell a story. It also didn't feel like there was a ton of build-up here for the World Tag Team titles. It just kind of happened, it felt like. So you didn't have a ton of investment in this matchup. Most of us didn't, because they didn't have a great build, which tells you that the titles probably aren't going anywhere. But even if they were, the build was poor, so you didn't have a ton of anticipation going into this. You're kind of like, oh, cool, we get another tag team title match. So it's not the end of the world. They can't promote everything all the time at 100%. But if you're going to do a title match, we need to get back to the days when we actually feel like title matches are a big deal. And if we're going to do them on free TV as well as on the whole on PLEs and everything else, then at least make the build feel important. Make the build really good. Make the build to a point where it's, you can't wait to see the match, to try to counteract how many title matches we actually get, which these days it's just, it's a stupid number. Just generally between all titles, especially the mid-card ones that are just defended on a weekly basis. All right. Backstage, we had Liv and Raquel encounter Io and Kairi, and Morgan mocked Sane for failing to qualify for the Money in the Bank, and then Sky told Morgan to keep walking. Morgan said she would keep walking right into Adam Pearce's office to get a Money in the Bank qualifier. Kairi Sane then poked Morgan's forehead and challenged her to a match for later in the show, and Liv accepted. So then we had Jay come into the ring and deliver his usual opening line about being in your city. Sure. Jay said it's been a busy week for the champ. He started talking about facing Cena and Paul after they were both yeeted at Saturday night's main event. But Gunther comes out, and he ignored the chant of "you tapped out" and congratulated Jay on his successful title defense against Logan Paul. And Gunther said Jay has held the title longer than he expected him to. And he said he appreciates that Jay tries his best and wants to be the captain of the ship on Raw. He spoke about how Jay is there for his friends with no questions asked. Gunther said those are great qualities for a human being, but they're terrible qualities for a champion. He said he can't blame Jay because he doesn't know better. He said being a champion doesn't come naturally to Jay like it does to him. And he continued to talk about being a great champion is, and that it doesn't mean you're there for everyone else. He said he was able to be champion for almost a year because the only person he cares about is himself. Gunther said he doesn't think Jay has the intellect to understand how to carry himself as a great champion. Gunther said he would relieve Jay from his position and make things right when they meet in 2 weeks. Jay asked Gunther if he was finished and said he's done with everybody saying his days as champion are numbered. He said he's done with everybody using an excuse for the title to turn their back on their friends, and said he has friends that he fights for and they fight for him. And Jay told Gunther to go ahead and judge him. Jay said that what Gunther is fighting for is less than what he's fighting for. He said he's not overlooking Gunther because he knows what he's capable of. He said he knows him inside and out, and we'd see him in Phoenix. He fights for the fans, he said in there, and he'll make him tap out again and end it with a yeet. So, Jay and Gunther, I feel like we're really reaching the end of this program. This should be their final match, win, lose, or draw. I don't believe Gunther's going to reclaim the belt, although if I were booking, I would have never had Gunther lose it. But I'd also have him regain it here at Money in the Bank, but I don't think he will. A clunky promo from Jay, especially towards the end. He got stumbled on his words, which happens. Hell, I stumble on my words 50 times throughout this show as you listen. I know that. But I don't care. I mean, I could edit them out, but I don't because it's just a pain in the ass to do, to be honest with you. And I don't have the time to do it, and so I leave it. But I have to say, I mean, Jay, he's just not a good promo generally. He's an okay promo, occasionally good, and very rarely very good, but we've seen very good once. And He fumbled, and the worst part about it is not even the stumbling, which happens. I'm not faulting him for that. Everybody stumbles over the words. I've seen The Rock do it. I've seen the best of the best. I've seen John Cena stumble over his words. I've seen Stone Cold Steve Austin at his peak stumble over his words on a promo on Raw. I really have. And if you're like, what are you talking about? When? Where? Those of you that are in the Attitude Era of your life, or like you watched wrestling in the Attitude Era, if you remember the version or the episode of Raw where Stone Cold abducted Vince McMahon after he fired him the night before for not crowning a new champion at Breakdown when Kane and Undertaker faced each other, and Austin was the referee, and he forced Austin to name a champion, and if he didn't, he would fire him, and Vince fired him. But then Austin came back the following night and abducted Vince, and he brought him in the middle of the ring, and Vince peed his pants. Well, Austin stumbled over his promo pretty bad in that segment on Raw. So, I mean, again, that's just one example. My whole point about this is that Jay's just not a really good promo, and WWE knows it because you know how much WWE trusts an individual with their promos or how good they feel that they are on the mic by how long they give them on the mic before somebody interrupts them. It's a pretty good way to tell, kind of take the temperature of how good or how much trust they have in that individual to cut a really good promo, because they'll cut them short. They'll give them a little bit to say, and after they say, oh, okay, quick, let's interrupt them. Right? Happens to Io Sky, happens to Jay, but that's usually a good way to tell. So Jay's not great on the mic. He's got charisma. He's got yeet. He's got a hell of a body of work as a tag team wrestler and more recently as a singles competitor. He showed a lot of range in the Bloodline story. He overuses the super kick to a laughable degree. It's not even insulting anymore. It's just, it's like a parody of himself with how many times he delivers these super kicks that are, I mean, there'd be more of an effect on their opponent if they just kind of blew air at them. Instead of doing super kicks, if he was just like, there'd probably be a bigger sell than the super kick. It's getting insanely, it's infuriating, but also laughable. Of what they've done to the super kick, mainly because of the Usos, among others. I mean, there's been other people, Dolph Ziggler, right? Nick Nemeth, now known in TNA, but kind of the same deal here. I mean, but the Usos are at the forefront of the ones who have just adopted the sweet chin music and turned it into nothing more than a clothesline at best, or a headlock. But sadly, I don't think Gunther's going to win. I think Gunther is, probably another 6 months away from capturing another championship. He could go into WrestleMania 42 as champion, or he could win the championship at WrestleMania. Heels can win at WrestleMania too. That is a thing. I wish WWE would occasionally do that, where WrestleMania isn't always the babyface overcoming the heel at the biggest show of the year. I know tradition is tradition, but there's something to be said about new stories being told at WrestleMania that don't always have to start with the babyface winning and overcoming. It can be about the heel starting their journey, and then the babyfaces go on a chase. All right. Let's continue. Liv Morgan took on Kairi Sane with Raquel Rodriguez at ringside. This match went 11 minutes. This match was longer than the triple threat tag team match. Kind of crazy. But the finish was Roxanne Perez coming out, shoving off Kairi off the top rope while Rodriguez was barking at the ref. Raquel was not happy with Perez, and Morgan went for Oblivion, but Kairi blocked it, countered with a pin that resulted in a 3 count, and Kairi getting the victory over Liv in just under 11 minutes. After the match, Liv Morgan sat in the ring next to Rodriguez and stared daggers through Perez. So the match wasn't great, I have to say. I mean, Liv back in the ring was nice to see, but it wasn't the greatest match of all time. That's putting it nicely. And the crowd was generally quiet, despite Sane getting what was presumed to be a major upset. And it kind of is. I mean, where they've positioned Liv and where they've positioned Kyrie over the last 6 to 12 months, they are at the opposite ends of the totem pole. So Kyrie getting a victory over Liv is a big deal, and it should be treated as such, but the crowd didn't really care too much. So they've got some major character development issues with Kyrie. Major problems. They just don't know what to do with her. Maybe if Asuka ever comes back, they could reboot the Kabuki Warriors. I'm not sure. But they need to do something with Kyrie outside of her. She's just this generic face of the women's division that can have a decent match. I don't want to hear her the Pirate Princess anymore. I mean, that's just to me, that's like a childish gimmick. I know she's an attractive woman. I don't care. So is almost every other woman on the roster. That doesn't do anything for me, nor should it do anything for you, honestly, if you're a wrestling fan. Because character should be really paramount in terms of deciding who is at the top of the card and who's not, and fan support and all the rest. But to me, the Pirate Princess thing is what you come up with just to come up with a gimmick. It's like putting a gimmick into AI or asking ChatGPT, what's a wrestling gimmick for a woman? And ChatGPT is like, Pirate Princess, and that's what ChatGPT would come up with for a wrestling gimmick. Because it's like, what does that even mean? What do you mean you're a pirate? Where were you born? The Black Sea? I mean, do you have any connections to Pirates of the Caribbean? I'm not sure. Are there any ties to Jack Sparrow? I mean, follow me here. I don't know. I'm not sure, but like Pirate Princess is it's a random gimmick, and I'm hammering the gimmick because it's bad. I'm not saying Kairi Sane is bad. I'm saying there's more to her. This is why she needs to get away from the Pirate Princess altogether forever and find who and what she is. Whatever that is. That's not my business to find out. Because if not, she could easily be on the chopping block for the next round of layoffs. I mean, could you not see it? Could you not see Kairi Sane being on the chopping block? If her name got released tomorrow as being one of the 5 or 10 people they let go, would anyone be surprised? Would anyone be in shock? No. That's how you know they need it. To me, that'd be like a 4, what do they say? A 4-alarm emergency? I don't know. There's some phrase there. But that's what it would be for me. If I could think of my name being on the blacklist tomorrow of being let go, and I wouldn't be surprised, that would be a red flag for me of, oh crap, I better do something now. So then we had Rhea Ripley. Her video promo aired. She spoke about how she would do anything to win the Money in the Bank match, and she advised Io and Tiffany to hold their titles closely because no one is safe from, oh God, Mommy in the Bank. How many times are we going to do a play on that? Oh, goodness. So we then had, this was fun, Women's Intercontinental Champion Lyra backstage, and this is where the mics were off here to start when Liv was venting as Perez and the rest of Judgment Day stood by. Rodriguez said Morgan would have won it had it not been for Perez, and Morgan said Rodriguez was the veteran and should have known better. Balor was smiling as Morgan walked away. Cole acknowledged the audio problem after the segment concluded. So there were some issues here, obviously technical. But Women's Intercontinental Champion Lyra then comes out while Cole announced Lyra versus Becky for the Intercontinental Championship at Money in the Bank. And Valkyria said she wished she could talk about facing her new challenger, but she said that Lynch did what she does best and talked her way into getting a rematch at Money in the Bank. She said she has nothing left to prove after beating Becky Lynch twice. Valkyria said she didn't feel any satisfaction when she beat Lynch and recalled Becky coming out after the match, and her ego was still through the roof and showed no shame over being beaten. And she said she's going to break her ego at Money in the Bank. And that's when Becky comes out and took issue with Valkyria, accusing her of making it personal. And she said Valkyria could have let it go, but she knows that Lynch is the best thing to happen to her or the title. And Lynch said that if Valkyria is so cocky, she had stipulations for her. And Lynch said if Valkyria beats her, she won't challenge for the title again. And Valkyria said she could beat her with her eyes closed. And Lynch said Valkyria didn't let her finish. Lynch recalled raising Valkyria's arm after Valkyria beat her and said that when she wins at Money in the Bank, Lyra has to look her in the eyes, raise her hand. And Lyra said she's never had an issue raising the hand of the person who's beaten her. That just hasn't been you yet, Valkyria said. So I do have to say, Valkyria on the mic is solid. She still has some work to do to connect with the crowd, but her work on the mic has been good for someone who just came up from NXT trying to still find herself. I mean, by the time you come up from NXT, you should be confident in who and what you are, but it still can't 100% prepare you for what the main roster is. Right? It can't. Because and if that was the case, we would see everybody from NXT come up and it would translate perfectly and there'd be no issues, but it's a different animal. We know it is, even as fans. But she hasn't connected with the main audience quite yet, but her mic work is solid. And even if her content isn't great, what really kind of deodorizes her content issues is her confidence on the mic, her poise on the mic. I believe she believes what she's saying, and that to me is more important than what she's actually saying. Now, she does need to clean up some of her issues. Her pacing can be a little bit wonky. Her delivery can be a little bit fast. She needs to slow down a bit. But I do like her confidence on the mic. I like her tone on the mic. So that's something really good. But I'm not worried about her. I'm really not. Lyra on the mic is much better than I thought she would be to this point. Okay. Then we had Rollins versus Balor versus Sami in a men's Money in the Bank ladder match qualifier. Match went 20 minutes and deservedly so. Let's talk about the finish. Rollins hit the stomp on Balor. Zayn hit Rollins with a haluva kick. Went for the victory, but Braun Breaker shows up, pulls Zayn out of the ring. Bronson Reed also arrived to help Rollins. Jey Uso jumps the barricade and does what he does with the 64.5 super kicks, which needs to stop. And we then had the numbers game get to Jay. Reed took out Zayn with a splash. Dom came out, who got a pop, slid a chair in the ring, but was kind of in the middle of the ring. And Balor went for the chair while Cole said it wasn't a good throw by Dom. Rollins then hit the stomp on Balor on the chair and got him for the 3 count, which means Rollins wins the triple threat in just under 20 minutes to qualify for the men's Money in the Bank ladder match. And then after the match, Rollins ordered Breaker and Reed to do more damage to Jay and Zayn, and that's when Punk comes out. Breaker and Reed walk up the stage to meet Punk, who entered the ring behind Rollins, hit him with a GTS, and fled through the crowd as Breaker and Reed chased him down. Good main event. Really good. I mean, it would have made no sense, though, if Rollins lost. Balor winning right now doesn't make sense because they're still trying to drive the wedge between Dom and Finn. Sami doesn't really fit right now. He was there to simply, help, just really be the main eventer that he is, but never be the one that's going to win. That's kind of Sami's gimmick, is he's good enough to be in the main event. He's good enough to almost win the championship, but not actually win the championship. He's always in that role because he can work with anyone. And working with 2 guys like Finn and Rollins, you're working with world-class athletes here, world-class pro wrestlers, and you put these 3 in the ring and they could go 60 minutes. These 3 could have a 60-minute triple threat match. I mean, easy. But Rollins ends up getting hit with a GTS. Crowd loved it. And it's time for Seth to join the rest of the team at the Money in the Bank ladder match. And I have said that Logan Paul is a front runner, but I will say that Rollins does make a strong case, no pun intended, to win that briefcase. He does. because he has this newly formed group that's hot. Him winning as a heel makes sense. As I've said many times, the reasons for winning as a heel, winning the Money in the Bank briefcase as a heel makes much more sense than a babyface winning. So Seth Rollins walking around with the briefcase, taunting for 6 months, 12 months, whatever the case, it would be a lot of fun because Rollins would cash in and he would win no matter if it's against the WWE champion, John Cena, or it could be against the world champion, whoever that is, Gunther, Jay, whoever at the time. So Rollins could easily win this match and easily win the championship whenever he decides to cash it in. So Rollins, again, while I said Logan Paul is a front runner, Seth Rollins is kind of up there too. Seth Rollins in a lot of areas does make a bigger case to win. But the thing with Rollins is he doesn't have to win Money in the Bank to become champion. He's a proven commodity. You believe he could win on his own. Logan Paul, on the other hand, is still kind of a smarmy opportunist. He's this little snake that will do what he needs to do to win. Seth Rollins doesn't need to do that anymore. He has enough respect behind him and from the fans and from the boys in the back that it's believed, or rather it's believable, that he doesn't need a briefcase to cash in on a champion that is at their weakest moment. So it's a bit of a difference between Logan Paul and Seth. I would argue Logan Paul needs it more because that's what it's designed for, rather than having Seth do it. But it still would put Seth on, or put heat on Seth, no doubt about it. So we'll see what they do as we kind of finish out the men's Money in the Bank ladder match contestants. But overall, certainly a decent Monday Night Raw, some really good wrestling, some quick progression in storylines, and moving really quickly towards Money in the Bank, which is already next week. I can say that. Money in the Bank is next week, next Saturday. It's going to come quick. So thank you, everybody, for listening. I appreciate it. Listen ad-free at patreon.com/WWE podcast, or go ad-free at Apple Podcasts as well, or Spotify, which has an ad-free stream as well. I really invite you to check us out there, which has ad-free content and also an exclusive After Dark show that's done by Luis Gonzalez every single Wednesday. It's exclusive to those of you on Apple Podcasts and those of you on the NXT Plus and above tier of Patreon. So thank you, everybody, for listening. I'll be back on Friday for your mailbag. Send in your emails at mailbag@wwepodcast.com. I'll answer them. Those of you who are patrons get priority placement in the show. Or call us. That number is in the show notes of every mailbag. So thank you, everybody, for listening. As always, take care. Talk to you next time.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to wwepodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.